you're a personal trainer for over 20 years, and then saying with the Vancouver Movie Industry. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a really cool period in my life. So, the personal training thing, that's self-explanatory there. I actually started off as an aerobics instructor back in the day where people were jumping all over like crazy people, and high impact aerobics, I used to call it, and of course we all had the really cool 80s gear. So, just Google aerobics 80s and you'll see. I wish I would have saved that stuff. It would have been great for Halloween. Darn. Anyway, yeah. So like I said, I've always been in health and wellness. This is not something new. I was always passionate about running around the track when I was in high school. I loved it. And it was just kind of a natural progression falling into the personal training. And the part of it that I actually like the most is the nutrition. I could verbatim read off, the carb content, fat, the macronutrients of almost every single vegetable on the planet back in the day because I was just so hyper focused on it. I loved it. That was really interesting how the body worked. And then I would say when I was about 34 years old, was it 34? Yeah, that's so long ago. I had the opportunity to work as a trainer in the film industry here in Vancouver. And so there's several different studio lots, and the lot that I worked out of was called the Vancouver Film Studios. It was one of the biggest ones. And it was a really cool experience. So I worked with a lot of people that worked on set, directors, producers, that kind of thing. But my biggest actor that I got to work with, her name was Reiko Aylesworth, and I trained her for the lead role in Alien versus Predator. Really bad movie. She was really great. But yeah, the movie, well, when you bring Alien and Predator together, you kind of know that they're grasping at straws for a new movie. But anyway, it's kind of like bringing the Hulk and Sylvester Stallone together, for a movie or something.
They did many years later, dude. They did make a movie, I think, called Cowboys versus Aliens, which was way worse than that. So
totally.
That's okay.
You always know that times are tough when they're throwing stuff together.
I always think it's the guy who didn't do his assignment, and it's like Monday morning, and his boss is like, "Okay, what's your idea?" And he's just like,
So true.
Versus aliens. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's so true. So true. But anyway, she was lovely. She was an amazing woman. An American. She lives in New York. So anyway, she's half Japanese and half white. And or Caucasian is a political, but I can call myself white. I'm okay. So she was very petite, and we had to get her looking like Sigourney Weaver because Sigourney was the last lead actress, and it was a really, really fun time. And of course, yes, I got to meet a ton of movie stars. I could list them all off. It was really a really cool experience. I was able to go to the Cannes Film Festival and the Toronto Film Festival and the Vancouver Film Festival. And really good experience though. Like the film population is unique in the fact that they do, it's kind of a bubble, right? It's kind of a bubble. It's like film and TV and radio musicians. They do have it's their little bubble of professionals, and kind of being a part of that for a little while inside, but yet on the outside was a really cool experience. And it was a fun gig to have as a personal trainer. I got to tell you, a lot better than working for Joe Blow Gym down the corner, right? It was really cool. I got spoiled, treated, paid very well. So good gig to have in my 30s for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what do you see? I know we're always staying in the present, but what do you see for yourself in the future? What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Oh, the next 5 years. I have been tossing around a few books. I've written, chapters and chapters on various topics. Breast implant illnesses is one of them. And SIBO, which is a gut bacteria that people get that I had. That's quite a nightmare. So I see a book in my future for sure. But honestly, on a real, just ground level, I want to help people. Like I was saying to a girl the other day that I was talking to that she's a single mom. She was having some troubles with her health. So we got that fixed up. But she's a single mom. She was having a really hard time financially. And I said to her, look, my main driving motivation when I first started in my profession was to be able to walk into Whole Foods And out west, we nickname it Whole Paycheck. So I don't know if you have it out east, but yeah, it's like, the organic store that's like 5 times as much as the corner store. Um, but my whole thing was I wanted to walk into Whole Foods and buy anything I wanted to eat and not look at the price tag. That was my whole motivation. Not a big motivation, not a Mercedes Benz, not a big house. I just wanted to go grocery shopping. That was it. And it really resonated with her because most people, they click the coupons or they take the list and they've got their $200 budget and they go to the grocery store. And I talked to her about what would it be like to be able to not have to think about the price. And
that's perfect. I'm sorry, I gotta interrupt you. That's exactly the right thing to say. What would it take to? What would it take? That's the great. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I started getting her thinking about that. And back to your question, that is what I see for my future. It's not about me. It's about other people. I want to impact more lives than I have in the last 17 years. Because of course, when you give, you get. It's just a natural process, right? You give, you receive. You give, you receive. And for me, at this stage in my life, I just want people to see what I see in them. I want people to see the possibility that is there and available to them. And I am there to help them 100% of the way. I just want people to live with a little less stress, a little more freedom in their lives, to, again, just go to Whole Foods and just buy whatever the heck they want, put it in the grocery shopping cart, pay for it and leave,
Exactly.
Go eat $12 yogurt and enjoy it.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a really good point because I often think of that. What is scarcity mentality compared to abundance mentality? And what is realistic? So like, sometimes I look at it, I'm like, instead of saying, I'll never say I can't afford it. If at the worst, I'll say I can't afford it now. And then I'll follow by saying, what would it take for me to be able to own that thing or to be able to acquire that thing? And I think that question, the quality of our life is largely determined by the quality of the questions that we ask.
Oh.
And I think that Christy Marie Sheldon, are you familiar with her and her work?
I'm not. No, new name.
It's amazing. And one of the things that I did, so I'm doing constantly this abundance course from Christy Marie Sheldon. And one of the things that she just says she goes the whole day, she's always asking, that's her regular, thinking process. What would it take that's what she does all day. What would it take for me to have like the best day possible? What would it take for me to have tons of fun today? What would it take for me to smile? What would it take and then she just that's just her walking around and then everything amazing just keeps coming to her, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.
That's really cool.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And she's extremely successful, extremely wealthy in both spiritual and physical, right? She's amazing person. And that's really like her secret to success is just asking things. Because if you ask the wrong questions, like the worst question in the world, why does my life suck?
Oh yeah.
So then the universe says, oh, why does your life suck? Okay. We better give him or her more evidence why their life sucks. We better tell them why their life sucks so much.
All that memory bank and all that stuff that you did. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. I've even gone to the point where I've read this thing, and I even did a video on that about memory. And the memories that we think we have are almost all wrong, right? And the further you go back, because every time you retell a memory, like you retell a story, because of it's in the past and your present mood and what's happening and stuff like that. Every time you say it, you're distorting it, and you distort it and then you resave it. And you store it and you resave it. So the time you're telling the story like 15, 20, 100 times, and we're not even talking about broken telephone to somebody else and they've distorted it. We're saying in your own mind that the actual event that happened is so drastically different from the reality that it was. Because even if you were in that reality and you and I experienced the same thing 5 years ago, 2 years ago, it's from such different vantage points. The way we could be at the same party and you can be like, well, that wouldn't happen with you and I, but I was going to say you could have a really positive experience and I would have a really negative experience, but we probably both have a really positive experience because of the way we think. But let's just say that, someone else could come to that party and be like, oh, everyone, nobody wants to talk to me here. Everyone thinks I'm stupid. Everyone's stupid here. And then just have a miserable time at that party. Right. And it's the same party. And then, so when they're telling that story later, we're saying, oh, that was a terrible party. And other people are saying, oh, that was actually a fantastic party or event. So we see changing it. So then the conclusion I'm going around the world to get to is that I've decided to change memories of my childhood to make them better. Because who cares? They're probably wrong anyways. So I started rewriting certain things and going, and I have these like these things that I think that happen, and I have some distorted view. What do I know? When I was 7, things look very different. The world looks very different how you interpret it at 7, 8, 9 years old. So what really happened? I don't know, but it seemed like really traumatic event that happened. But it probably wasn't. So why am I holding on to that?
So true.
That
Yeah.
memory or that pain or whatever, like it probably never happened. So instead I do, and this is like very dangerous. So don't do this at home, kids, and whatever.
At home.
But I'm starting to change things drastically of like, so instead of like that day that was miserable and I misbehaved and I got punished is now the day we all had ice cream and it was fantastic.
Oh, I love it.
it
I
was,
love it.
and it was
Well,
amazing. Why
it's
not?
amazing because you've just brought this full circle to exactly what I was talking about earlier about we can change our past, right? We can change the thoughts to, to, like I was saying about attracting somebody into my life or, somebody who wants to earn $1,000. Well, just pretend as if it's already happened, right? So pretend something new about your past has happened. And
That's
there
it.
you go. That's
Right?
it.
Why not? Right? Exactly.
Why not?
Exactly. So I think, but remember, this is it's very cool, but you have to be at a certain level of vibration
Yeah.
and a certain level of understanding because if you go out and you're like, okay, like I feel it, I'm already a millionaire, and I go and I buy a Rolls Royce. I'm just like, sign me up.
Yeah.
It's like it's already real in my head. I'm already a multimillionaire, so like I want to drive home with this right now and just be to the guy at the car thing. It's like I am. I guess if you truly believed it, you probably would just like wake up in the morning with that in your bank account. I don't know, and then not remember that you ever
Yeah, maybe.
didn't have it. I don't know anymore what is real, like what
Mhm.
really happened, what's really happening, and what's really going to happen. It's I don't know what level you can shift the matrix, but I've seen miracles in front of my eyes many, many times. I'm sure you have too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know it's a bit of a mind twist, isn't it, when you try to think about all of this stuff and I mean, what is really real? And I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but
Yeah, because then it becomes a little bit odd too when you start changing the past. Because then you could be like, let's say in high school I was okay. I was. I'm not going to talk about my past in that, but let's just say you, as someone at high school, was like not popular and picked on, and then why not just remember them as like the star of the football team and everyone would love them, right? Why not? Which is all fine and good until you meet somebody, right, that was from like your high school and
oh
you're like, yeah, I was captain of the football team, it was
yeah,
amazing. They're like, no, you weren't. you know you were the weird kid in the corner and everyone
that's
makes
right, yeah. And all of a sudden you go back to being the weird kid.
but who
But
cares, right? Like who, yeah, exactly, but who even cares? So then if it's all about warping the past
Mhm.
to make sure that your subconscious in the fully present is having that right information. It's all about feeding that information and then tuning into the vibration of the emotion, like like power versus force, right? The emotional
Yeah.
scale and love or above. Christy Marie Sheldon actually has a course also called Love or Above, like
Mhm.
500 vibration or above. Very
Yeah,
cool.
right. That's right.
And yeah, so it's trying to keep in those higher vibrations. So this is like, I think, if someone could figure this out, is really the big part of the key to life is
Mhm.
having that. And then when something negative happens, and it happens, I've gotten just recently, I got this grace of God, got taught this lesson that when something bad happens now, I'm able to dissipate it immediately. And the reason is because I'm able to convince my mind that it happened like a million years ago. So like, I'm not going to get mad over something that happened 7 years ago. Somebody insulted me. I'm not going to be sitting here mad about that. It doesn't make any sense. So I can now have the ability to, something could just happen like 5 minutes ago. I can separate it like it's a million years ago, and I have no emotion of negativity towards it.
Well, it's interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to hold my blind here up so that so I don't
Okay.
become this big halo. I tell you, this time of day, the sun's just on the move, or the planet is. Somebody's on the move. But it does look like I have a glow, doesn't it? It's funny how I deal with things is we have a little saying, and it was actually, I don't know if it's his original saying, but his name is David T.S. Wood, and he's one of our kind of coaches in this profession. And he lives in Kelowna, British Columbia, actually, on the lakeside. Very, very awesome guy. And his saying is event, story, problem. Event, no story, no problem. And so whenever I have something happen, I'm like, don't make a story up about it. Like if you get it in a fender bender, the biggest thing people do is like, oh, that stupid jerk wasn't looking and blah, blah, blah. The reality is it's a fender bender. What are you going to do about it? Event, no story, no problem. Call your insurance and it's over with, right? But the story gets us hyped up, and then we're calling all of our friends, and 3 days later we're still talking about it and the emotions. But the reality is fender bender, insurance, and that's it. There's nothing else to talk about, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to tell you a real life story that happened, I don't know, maybe a month ago. And I was driving. I was with my talking to my friend Steve on the phone, and I hit a pothole, and I blew a tire. So
Ooh,
what I did is I just said very calmly, okay, I just blew. He heard it on the phone. He goes, oh, what was that? I go, yeah, I just blew a tire. So I go, okay, I know about where I am. That there's a gas station not too far. It's quite a busy. It's on a highway. So I go out to pull off to the highway, and I just say, what would it take for me to find a perfect spot? So I get there. I just make it in time, that I have just enough air so I'm not rolling on metal. And then I just say, what would it take for me to get this resolved as quickly as possible? So I go and I call, as I'm getting in, I'm calling CAA and to the service, right? You're familiar with
yeah,
CAA. Yeah.
yeah.
So to come to my car. So what would it take for someone to be in the area and come right away? Under 10 minutes, somebody was there. It took them 10 minutes to replace the tire.
Wow.
I was going to visit a client, and I said, what would it take for, I don't want to be driving around with this spare. What would it take for me to be able to get this tire replaced like as soon as possible? So I visited my first client. Before I visited my second client, I called the garage that's near me, and I said, listen, I really need a favor. They're always super busy. I said, this is what happened. I really need it fixed. He said, come right away. Come right away. One spot they have available for me. I come in. I said, like, I need this change. They said, the guy looks in the back. They have one tire. It's exactly the perfect match for it.
No
And they're like,
way.
well, we could put this one. It has exactly the same wear and tear as the other one because it's not good to mismatch tires. It's exactly the same wear and tear. It's the exact size of your tire. Do you want to put this on? Yeah, sure. Boom. So the incident happened at 10 a.m. and it was like 12:30 p.m. So 2.5 hours later, I had my attire and everything was done, said and done, and I was back on my road.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it was just like, it was just that question, that remaining calm and just
Yep,
say, what would it take? What would it take for this
exactly.
to happen? You know?
That's right.
And
If people did that with everything in their lives, like, everything, wouldn't it be amazing? It'd be such a different outcome.
it would. It would. It's so challenging to keep in those, when in high vibrations. It's very easy. That's
Mhm.
why I meditate daily and all that, to stay in those high vibrations. But any of us, it's hard. Sometimes it's like you get derailed, right, by like reality, or sometimes just pulls you down or pulls you to. Then you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And the more you practice it, I think it more natural it becomes.
Exactly. And surrounding yourself with a good tribe.
Yes, absolutely. I must say, on that last point, I'll give a shout out to the Isagenix people who are just so kind, just such nice, wonderful people.
We try
Oh,
to be.
yeah, yeah, super
Well,
nice.
is that attracting like minds, right? Everybody's
Yes.
there to help everybody else, and I think that's what's really important in all areas of life. You need to
Yeah.
surround yourself with people that are, of like mind, that have a similar belief system that you do, as far as like kindness and giving and sharing and all of that. That's so incredibly important.
Yeah, because I noticed that quickly. It was more about full health, like mental health, physical health, well-being wasn't just about like I'm gonna get like ripped, you know. It wasn't that mentality, right? So it's really
No,
really nice.
definitely not. No, no. We're all about wellness as a whole, wellness as a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah. And the company itself is really all about self-development. I mean, if you think that you can, do a little side gig business and not develop yourself like mentally and emotionally,
mm,
I've had so many friends of mine that have joined um, with me using the products, but they're not interested in the income opportunity. They're interested in the self-development,
sure.
and it's free.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty good, even if you become a better person in 5 years just from hanging out with those people, it's
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so amazing.
mhm.
So listen, on this, we're kind of out of time. So, is there any last things that you wanted to share or tell the audience, or last piece of advice, or anything?
I think don't wake up one day with regret. That's my greatest fear, and I believe it's something that everybody should, you know, fall asleep with and really think about it. Like, if the end of your life was to come next week, would you have any regrets? And from that moment on, you better start making that list. Don't settle. You can achieve your dreams. Happiness is just a thought away, and don't have any regrets. Don't have any regrets, and yeah, and that's it. I think that's the most important thing is just to don't have regrets come the end of your day. That's a scary, scary, scary thought.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. Awesome. So with that, Monica, I'll wish you a successful and peaceful mind.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for taking the time to share your personal wisdom with myself and the audience.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for having me. It's been an awesome, awesome conversation. I love it.
Thanks. Okay, bye.